This podcast contains descriptions of violence against children and adult language and is not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Hi everyone, and welcome to Suffer the Little Children, the podcast giving voices back to the victims of child abuse murder and their families. I'm your host, Lane, and this is episode 171, Arabella Parker, Retold, Part 3. Over the last 2 episodes, I've told you the story of 3-year-old Arabella Parker, who died in November 2019 after severe abuse at the hands of her mother's boyfriend, Jahrid Burgess. For this episode, I was honored to speak with 3 people close to Arabella's case. First, you'll hear my recent conversation with the Sunbury Daily Item's crime reporter, Frances Scarcella, who followed Arabella's story from the very beginning. Then, you'll hear me talk with 2 of Arabella's maternal aunts, Samantha Delcamp's sisters, Mandy Kegler and Sarah Delcamp, 2 amazingly strong women who've endured the death of their beloved niece, the imprisonment of their sister, and the cruelty of the public with a great deal of grace. This is part 3 of the complex, tragic story of Arabella Parker, Retold. First up, here's my conversation with the Daily Item's Frances Scarcella. Today I'm talking to Frances Scarcella, the reporter from the Daily Item in Sunbury, who has covered Arabella's case exhaustively since the beginning. Thanks for joining me, Frances.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about Arabella's story and when you started covering it. Have you been covering it since the very beginning?
Yeah, actually before the beginning, because by some sort of fate, there was a couple incidents prior to this whole tragic situation that I had covered with the family before that. So between that, being from a smaller town and having some of the personal connections with some members of the family prior to. So when this whole thing broke, I was kind of in the loop from the beginning.
What were your first impressions when you first heard about what had happened to Arabella and that she was in the hospital?
Well, I was actually coming home from a Friday night football game, and I had got tipped off by some law enforcement that there was a major incident and that this baby was really, really damaged. And when I saw the names, I said, oh, God. So just sad. And I remember that was a Friday night, and it kind of then tailspinned all the way through to the next month of my life was pretty much dedicated to this. And I actually did interview Samantha Delcamp that Sunday at the newspaper.
Okay, so it was just a couple of days afterward that you talked to her. And the rest of her family was, or at least her sisters and her mom were there.
Her one sister and mom were there, yes.
And what did you think at that time? I mean, I'm not sure if the prior incidents had to do with Samantha or not, but what did you think of her potential involvement at the time?
To this day, I still think, there was a lot more that could have been done to save this child, obviously. But this was strictly the boyfriend situation here. I mean, obviously, as a mother, she did not take care of this child. And to sit on a witness stand or to tell the tale that she was afraid, couldn't leave, she could have absolutely left. We live in a small town, and she knew a lot of people that would have been able to help her leave in a heartbeat with no recourse whatsoever in doing so. So that part, yes, is 1,010% her fault. But again, she did not strike the child. She did not have, it wasn't her that did all of this, other than the fact that she was a shitty mother.
Apparently, Steve Wilkos shared that opinion. He certainly made that clear.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with all that either. That was, flamboyant for the cameras. That's not really journalism, in my opinion. That was more
right.
Put her on TV. You also called her that, but you paid her to go there. So you can't have it both ways. I'm not a big fan of those type of media, so-called outlets. It was just for show. It was a whole setup for a show. And first of all, it was a dumb idea on her part to go there in the first place, knowing what was going to happen. Secondly, it didn't help her cause in any which way. And third, again, I mean, it was a setup for disaster. So it was this I paid zero attention to that episode. I paid zero attention to his comments. I paid zero attention to anything that, they covered on it, because it was all secondary and everything was basically stolen from us anyway to be reported on. So
it seemed very sensationalized to a point where it didn't even consider Arabella as a person. She was more of an ancillary character.
And you didn't help any other families moving forward. You did not move the ball forward in the fight against any kind of abuse at all by doing that show, or by him glorifying the fact and lie detector tests and all this kind of it. You didn't move the ball forward in the fight to make sure these things don't happen.
Well, I was going to ask when you first met the family, but since you knew some of them ahead of time, this wasn't your introduction to them. Have you met the Parker family at all?
I did not. I mean, I met, the sister afterwards. That was the only one I talked to from the family. Her dad, and Arabella's dad was in jail at the time. And even when he was out of jail and coming to various court hearings, I just never really had any conversation with him. I did not know Samantha prior to this. I knew her sister going into it, not on a, friend-to-friend basis, but I knew who she was. And when I would see her, we would talk and stuff like that. But I didn't know her like part of my mutual friends.
So really your first dealings with them were through this whole process. Have you gotten close to them?
Yeah, I mean, I did with Mandy throughout the whole thing. We stay in contact, and I have spoken to her several different times. I've spoken to relatives of theirs several times. So I wouldn't say close, but they did right by me and I did right by them. So we were in that same boat together.
Yeah, you have handled the whole thing with a lot of tact and empathy, and I appreciate that, because there's a lot of not just journalists, but podcasters in this arena too who just don't as much as they should. So it means a lot to read coverage where it's obvious.
And I appreciate that, and there's very few shows that I do. I don't do a lot of these. I've done several different high-profile cases. I've covered Miranda Barber, who was a alleged teenage serial killer along the way, and I did major, national news and various shows and stuff like that. But I've become very selective in what I do, because I research it first and I make sure that they're not out there just for the glorification of that. And I like what you do, and I think you're trying to move the ball forward, and that's basically what it's about. If you're not there to help move the ball forward, then you're part of the problem.
I have to agree on that part. That's what it feels like a lot of times to me. There weren't a ton of podcasts doing children's stories. There were no podcasts doing exclusively children's stories, and there's nothing that we can do if we don't know what's already going on. That's how I feel about it.
That's exactly right. And there's just, there's so many of these cases that are out there. I mean, I've covered several since then. Thankfully, no child has died yet and has been charged, but there's just a big issue, and I don't get it. I don't understand it.
No, I don't either. And I've covered, this is going to be my 169th episode, and I can't wrap my brain around how someone could just raise their hand, let alone do the things that some of these people do. And especially the ones who aren't related to the child. That seems to happen an awful lot. And Jahrid was just so young. He was, 19 at the time?
19 at the time, but with a major chip and big previous past. And again, Samantha Delcamp can say whatever she wanted to about not being able to get away, and she could have. I mean, she knew too many people who knew her situation, and she could have got away with no repercussions whatsoever. So she's just as much as at fault. She would not have struck her own child, I believe that, but she is very complicit in the entire situation as well. So yeah, it's crazy to think that these things go on, but they do. And you just, there's one going on right now that we don't know about. And it's very sad. So yeah, he was young, but knew exactly what he was doing. And when I interviewed him, he was arrogant, and he was going to tell these old tales and do all these kind of things. And he is not there. It's the same old, every single time. And his mother was arrested, and she stood up for him in the same exact thing, full well knowing that he was lying through this entire thing. And these people are going to get what they get, and they're going to spend a lot of time in jail for it.
There's so many layers to this one, and Christy being involved made it even grosser, I think, because I can understand defending your children to the death, but when your child has caused the death of another child, I can't imagine how she could feel okay about doing that.
I agree, but you don't know what goes on behind closed doors with people, and you just don't know. The whole thing was very sad and tragic all the way through, and then you have a mother who knows better, and here she is defending somebody who has done such a horrific thing to a child. So
yeah, family dynamics. There's a lot of different dynamics going on here, I think. I haven't had a chance to talk to the Parkers either, but there's a lot of bad blood between them. And I think that's just so sad that it doesn't have to be that way. But everybody's got high emotions, and it's so hard to come to any kind of consensus about something like this.
I mean, it's crazy. The intertwinement of this entire thing is what's so baffling, and there's just so many people that were connected, not to the incident, but just connected as families, that it's just so wild and crazy. And that's why, when she made the claims of not being able to get away, it just is not true.
It seems like kind of a spider web where everyone's connected to everyone else in some way with some strand. Did you attend both of the trials?
Covered it from gavel to gavel in the entire way. And, and the coverage of it was, it was for this area because it also put a wake up call to children and youth in. Because my problem that I had in this situation with the children and youth at the time in this county here was you have two people who testify that the girl was walking around happy playing, and it's just not the case unless you have a world-renowned doctor who's lying. I just don't see that to be the case. So at some point, balls were dropped all over the place here. And it goes back to the old saying, and especially in this county, is that the jobs are not very well paid, and they're not. And I don't disagree with that. And they do deserve more money, but it's not that they don't have it. So with that being said, you can't blame that and say, well, I just wasn't making enough money. You agreed to take the job at what it was. Then you should never have agreed. I don't know. There's a lot to that as well. And I'm not disagreeing that these people deserve more money than what they make, especially in these smaller little towns and counties. But again, you've agreed to take that job. So take the job and do the right thing.
You'd hope that they would attract the right kind of people for that particular job. But I guess with lower pay, it's just going to be people who need a job.
That's right.
I find it at least heartening that the family tried to help in some capacity ahead of time by calling in reports and things like that. Whether or not they were followed up on is a whole nother story, but we'll have to, I guess, just accept what we got from the trial and try to move forward from there.
That's exactly what it is. And I mean, that's, you got the maximum that jury was going to give on what it was, and it's nobody's fault but what it is. And it's a long time for these people to sit in jail. So.
Do you think the prosecution and the defense both did their jobs well?
Yeah, I mean, they did. They got what they got. I mean, anybody that sat on that jury that said that they did not hear about this case or read about this case is not telling you the truth. So they got what they got. The evidence was there. I sat through everything, and I think everybody, did their jobs as best that they could in the situation that it was.
I know there's been some talk on the internet. There's a petition out there to release Samantha from prison and some talk about, the domestic violence aspect. And I definitely am going to talk about that a little bit in the episode. But like you said, there is so much support for her. And anybody that tells you differently doesn't know the situations that they were in down here. Her sister was involved with a person down here that would have never allowed any of that to happen. And there wouldn't even have been an argument. She could have literally made one phone call and they would have came and taken her, the child, and everybody out of there. And there would have been nothing that Burgess would have been able to do. Zero. Right. Would not have been able to even remotely open his mouth in the situation. And that's why it's just anybody that tells you differently is not telling you the full truth. So domestic violence, maybe, but she allowed it and she stayed there and not out of fear. So there was nowhere near out of fear. It was out of drugs and whatever else that they were doing at the time, but it was not out of fear. Would you say you've learned anything particularly from covering Arabella's story? We need to have better checks and balances, and we need to have better social workers when they go out. I mean, because there's just no way, again, and I'll hang my hat on it, that a world-renowned doctor would say that the girl could barely move or be able to walk in the condition that she was in for them to turn around and say, oh, she was laughing and playing and jumping around. When they interviewed the caseworkers, it said that they visited on the same day of the incident and the child was fine. But the doctor testified there's no way the child was jumping and walking around because the child was injured. Because of all her previous injuries. Yes. Yeah, there seemed to be a whole lot of or at least the defense tried to stir up a whole lot of doubt around Dr. Bellino.
That's a public defender. I mean, they're going to do what they have to do. They have to make every argument. I mean, there's no doubt. The guy's well known in this area. Again, this is a very small town, and he's an ace children's doctor. To discredit that for this situation never would have happened. It was a weak argument.
Thank you so much to Francis for taking the time to talk to me. His detailed coverage of Arabella's case, including all of the court hearings and the trials, was both informative and sensitive. I'll pause here for a quick word from my sponsors, and then you'll hear my conversation with Arabella's maternal aunts, Samantha's sisters, Mandy Kegler and Sarah Delcamp. Thank you both so much for coming on the show and talking to me.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
We can pretty much start wherever you like. We can talk about Samantha if you want to. We can avoid that topic altogether. Whatever's most comfortable for you guys. I want to go as in-depth or keep it as surface level as you're comfortable with.
Well, Mandy and I have different views about Sam. So let's not go.
Yeah, I would rather not talk about Sam. Sarah can do that.
Okay, not a problem at all. And I imagine that must be something to deal with when all of you have slightly different views or completely opposing views on something like that. I'm glad that you're able to continue your relationship, and that's so important too.
Oh yeah, I'll just take the feedback in
And she kind of just keeps her comments to herself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like don't discuss politics at Thanksgiving, and
Yes.
there's other
Exactly.
topics to avoid.
Right.
So what was this whole process like for you guys? How did you find out what was going on, and how did that kind of play out?
Well, I actually was the one who it was me and my mom, because Jahrid had a hearing at the courthouse and my mom and I kind of stalked the courthouse out a little bit and he never showed. So later on in the day, I think Sam had actually said to Sarah that it got canceled or it got moved to a different time. So then we went back and stalked it out again, and then he never showed. So then later on in the day, we were all together and our other sister had said, "Did you hear what happened?" And we're like, "No." And she said, "Well, she was told that Arabella was in the hospital." So then we all got together and stuff, and then we went up to the hospital, and was not a good scene.
Well, I did call. I called Geisinger, and Geisinger actually told me that she was there, but they wouldn't give me any information other than she was there.
Oh, that's so scary. And that was on October 12th then, right?
It was I want to say the 11th.
Was the 11th.
Okay, so Mandy, you and your mom had already known something was going on and you guys had made reports.
Sam had children and youth come into my house to do her little meetings. Then she just automatically stopped. And I told her, I was like, "Dude, you can't just not come to these little meetings." I was like, "They don't need to be at my house if you're not here, because it's for you." And then she didn't appreciate it when I told them her address.
So the meetings that she was having, were they from a case before?
Yes, this was in May and June 2019.
Okay. And that was was it from the accident and everything with Carl?
I think Amanda had made the calls to children and youth. And then...
Wasn't that because of who she lived with? Wasn't that because she lived with Harry?
Yes. And the reason why she was down here was because she did have those hearings for, I think it was fines. And the judge was going to put her in jail if she didn't stay down here in Sunbury. So then I said that she could stay here. And then she ended up staying here for a night or two. And then she was hopping house to house.
So it was a whole ongoing thing. And then they moved out of Harry's house.
Yes.
And she ended up living with Jahrid in what was that, May or June?
That was June.
Okay. So she was really only with him for a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
June, July, August, September, and half of October.
It's crazy how fast something like that can escalate.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
From what Francis said the other day, he described Jahrid as a little man with a chip on his shoulder. And it sounds like he definitely didn't have the most stable upbringing either.
No.
No excuses, of course. But
No, absolutely not.
other than that, did everything seem fairly smooth with Arabella's growing up prior to Jahrid coming into the picture?
Oh, yeah, she was a happy girl. She hardly ever cried, just into everything.
Yes.
And just bring me random things. Always had to have something in her hand and always bringing you different things. Like I would watch her during the day when she would go and visit Carl in jail. And everything from upstairs would become downstairs. It's like,
Oh, wow.
it's really not necessary for the things upstairs to be downstairs. They're upstairs for a reason.
Just migrates to the bottom floor.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, cute. So she was healthy and happy and everything was good. And then along came this 19-year-old
Punk.
weasel. I can't think of a better word for him.
Yep.
Is there anything that you guys do want to talk about or that was in the media that you felt like it wasn't accurate? Because I know there was a lot of newspapers and other outlets kind of covering everything. And I went through, I think, every last one of them. And I've followed everything for so long. So I'm wondering if there's anything out there that shouldn't be or that's not quite right.
The accusations of like we didn't do anything and that we knew. We did not know. Anybody in their right mind, if they knew something like that was going on, they would do anything and everything in their power to not let that happen and keep going on.
Well, you'd think, yeah. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who don't do anything, but that's another reason that telling these stories is so important.
Yeah.
You could be their last hope. But yeah, if you didn't know what was going on or at least how serious it was.
If you see something, you say something.
Yep, I say it all the time. So, Mandy, you and your mom made reports. And what were you telling CYS? Of what were you reporting to them?
I reported about her broken leg that I still to this day, I don't believe she tripped up a step and broke her leg.
I don't either.
What part of her leg was it?
That I can't recall.
And when did that happen?
That was the beginning of July because then they came over for the 4th of July get-together. She couldn't walk. She had to be carried.
Oh, was she in a cast or was she just kind of...
Oh, yeah. It was a big cast all the way up to her top of her hip. It was horrible. It didn't seem to bother her, though, because when she did try to walk, she would drag it.
Okay, so she was still trying to be all mobile and...
Yeah.
And then I don't know how long she had it on because I didn't see her anymore the rest of July, none in August, and maybe 2 times in September. I know for a fact it was one time because that's when we went up to their house on Reagan Street and made a scene there. And then that's why they decided they were leaving that house to go to Trevorton. But we didn't even know that where they moved for a good 2 weeks until we were told that they were in Trevorton.
And they moved in September then?
Yeah. It was like the 9th.
Right around Arabella's birthday.
No, it was around Lou's birthday and hers was the 10th.
Yes.
Because Tyrone and I and Lou and Ryan, we went to that wine social thing. Oh, and you went too. And that was the beginning of September. And it was a few days after that because she had moved. I had moved her that day out of his house and moved all her things to Lou's house.
That's right.
So it was 2 times.
Yep.
Oh, so she did get away from him where she had that opportunity.
She was out of that house, all of her things. I moved all of her things. Well, I didn't go in the house. Sam moved all of her things into my car and I took it to our sister's house. And then not even a few hours later, they were back together.
Yeah, that she left back with him that night when he came back from a
Penn State game.
Yeah.
Okay, so he kind of talked her into coming back, or she had her own reasons to go back, and that's when they moved into the Trevorton house. Is that far from or farther from where all of you live?
It's further. Yeah, it's probably a good 15 to 20 minutes away.
Okay, so that's a little more distance put in between all of you.
Yeah, so we didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, there was a lot of finger pointing at children and youth, but it seems like there was a lot of avoidance of children and youth, so it's hard to say how much fault can be placed there. I
still, to this day, when the cops came to that house in September, the cop said, we are going to make a report to CYS and Arabella will be checked out by a doctor. And it was that Dr. Bruno. If everything would have followed up, none of this would have happened.
Okay, so CYS dropped the ball, you think?
Yes. And the cop did.
The cop and CYS.
I feel that if that test would have been done, none of this would have ever happened.
Nope. If Arabella would have seen him, because she had healing bones.
Yeah.
And this was September, so they would have seen it, and all this could have been avoided.
Prevented.
Yep.
And I know that must just kind of stick in your head all the time, like if only.
It does.
Yeah.
It really was.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I really can't say it enough. I'm so sorry that this happened. It's not just the parents who feel this loss, it's everyone. And it seems like Arabella had so many people who loved her.
She did.
Yes, she did. And it's hard because I was like there all the time. I watched her come into this world and
Watched her leave it.
Yeah. It's so special that you guys got to be there with her. I know it had to have been so hard and heartbreaking. And
because Sam and I were really close.
yeah,
So disappointed. So disappointed.
I can imagine that has a lot to do with how you feel about the whole thing. Because if you felt like, you guys talked about everything and then all of a sudden the wall goes up.
Yeah. Then she shuts me out.
She shut me out too because I went to her house one time when they lived on Reagan Street, and she asked me to borrow some feminine products, and I took them up to her, and she came out and she had a clear black and blue mark on like the side of her chin. And I'm like, Sam, I'm like, what is that? She goes, oh, I must have been eating cupcakes or something, and tried brushing it off. I said, yeah, good try. It's not coming off your face. And then he came outside and she changed the whole subject.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any question that there was some abuse going on there for sure.
Yeah. Towards her, yes, I knew there was. There was no doubt in my mind that there was with her, but with Arabella, I never thought in a million years, honestly.
I know there was a lot of mental abuse. Like one time we were on the phone, Sam and I were on the phone together, and Jahrid was running his mouth. And like he was telling her she was a drug addict and she was an alcoholic. And she's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, yes, you are. And they were just going back and forth. You are a drug addict. And it's like, I've never, ever in my life heard anything like this. Like, it was like a Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how, well, I mean, it took me 18 years to realize that mental abuse was also abuse. But
Yep.
some of the things that some of these people can say it's like, really? Where did you pick up this script? Because a lot of it is so similar.
Yeah.
And at such a young age, where did he grab that? He had to have seen it from somewhere, or I don't understand if there's a manual for these people or what.
You're right.
Needs to be rewritten.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, time for another quick sponsor break. I don't understand. It'll never be clear to me how someone can raise a hand to someone so tiny.
I don't understand.
No, it doesn't make sense. And the fact that he continued to say it was just because of his bad aim. Ugh.
Yeah.
A misthrow is a misthrow.
Yeah. I was
Why are
like,
you throwing a child?
exactly. Because you're a moron, that's why.
That I can't argue with. Seems pretty clear. And his mom, did you know Christy at all, or was this your first dealing with her?
It was probably the second dealing with her because I had ran by her when she had taken Sam to a court hearing because me and my mom went to that too. And we were trying to actually get her some punishment repercussion. And if the judge would have actually sent her to jail too, there was another incident where things could have turned out differently.
Yeah. So you got to meet Christy in court.
Yeah, in passing. She didn't say anything to me. She Facebook messaged me once.
Yeah.
I told her, please don't message me because what you have to say is all lies anyway. I don't have time for it.
That was after Arabella was in the hospital?
Yes. Yep.
She had some audacity there.
Mm-hmm.
What did she try to say? She was trying to justify?
Yeah, she was. I just cut her off. It was like two sayings and I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. Because whatever she had to say, it didn't matter because her kid did what he did.
Right. And then she clearly covered for him. I mean, there's no excuse for that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand the mother-child relationship. I've got two teenagers. I get it. But if one of them ever did something like this, I would not be
supportive,
making up a story to say this is why. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
They know right from wrong.
Yes, that's the thing. So Pastor Gittens seemed like a big support to you guys.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, good. It seemed like he actually wants to make some kind of change, and that's the kind of person you need on your side.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I take it that there's not much of a relationship between your family and the Parkers, just for necessity.
Carl really didn't talk to many of his family members.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like, I've never met any of them, and some of them live out of state or further away.
There's a few people who are out front and center a lot of the times, and you two were out there, and Amanda was out there, and that's a whole other story. I mean,
I wish she'd get her stuff together too.
Yeah, I actually do feel badly for her because I don't know her obviously, but it seems like she wouldn't harm her child, but it's another situation where a guy comes in who's all bad news.
Yeah.
And when you're doing drugs, you don't really care about your kids.
Yeah.
And she's a drug addict.
Did she have 2 kids or just the one?
2.
She has 2. She has a 5-year-old, and then is it 1 year? Yeah, she just turned 1.
Okay, so that was the baby who got injured.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just such a mess for everybody involved.
Oh,
yeah.
It is.
So you don't talk to Carl, obviously.
I do.
I do not, because I made some decisions that he didn't approve of, but he made decisions that I didn't approve of. So there's that.
Yeah. And you had the legal responsibility for good reason, and you had to make the decisions at that point. So, yeah, it's got to be hard to fault anyone for all of the high emotions during that time.
Right.
So what would you say if you had to say you learned something from all of this, besides how horrible and awful it all is? Would you say you've learned anything in particular about the situation, or you would change anything that you did in particular?
Watch for signs, because they're there. You just don't realize it.
I wish I would have filed for custody sooner rather than later. I wish I was the one who filed instead of Mom did.
Mm-hmm.
In September, right? That's when she had showed up just a little bit late, and they...
Yep, she thought it was at a different time, and she was late.
That's awful. Yeah, I'm sure she has lots of thoughts about that.
Yes, she does.
So awful. I felt so bad for your mom when I read about Nick in the paper, too. I mean,
yes.
God, you guys have been through so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have.
How is she doing?
She's doing well. Doing a lot better.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Gave up bad habits and living her best life now.
That's awesome. And she's got grandbabies to take care of, too.
She does.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are keeping her busy.
Oh, yeah.
So do you want to talk about who Arabella was and the things she loved? Because I think that's so important to keep her memory alive that way.
Well, she loved her baby dolls. I know that for a fact. She had 1 million of them, and she carried all of them with her in her hands at all times.
And that blanket. And
her polka dot blanket. Yep.
It was a special blanket she had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was white with pink polka dots.
Where did she get her red hair from?
I don't. Carl has a tin of red hair.
Oh, okay. It's just such a beautiful color, and it's like not at all looking like either one of her parents. So
no,
I have such a soft spot for the little red-haired babies.
Me too.
I know, she was the only redhead little baby. Well, I guess we do have a cousin that she's orange hair, but she's as old as us, so she doesn't count.
Okay. No. So Arabella was 3, so she was talking pretty well, I bet.
No, she wasn't talking at all.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, see, I did not know that.
I think if that played a part in it, that would have helped the situation too.
Yeah, because she would have been able to tell us what was going on and what was happening.
Yeah.
Did she have a speech delay, or was she chose not to talk?
I think it was a little bit of both. She was going to start up with speech. She actually had an eval that week, and that got stopped.
Oh, okay. So she wasn't speaking at all.
Yeah, she'd say little words like mom,
duck.
Yeah.
So what else did she like? How did she show you what she liked besides handing you everything that she got into her hands?
She'd point or just bring everything.
Yeah.
Did
she have a favorite show or a favorite character sort of thing?
I think she was into The Little Pony.
Yes, she was.
She liked Ice Age. Does that little squirrel?
Yeah.
She would point to it and jibber jabber to it.
Oh. What about foods? What did she like to eat?
Everything.
Yep.
Everything. She loved chips.
Didn't matter what it was.
No.
You had it in a bowl. She's standing in front of you staring at you.
It's got to be hard to say no.
Oh, yeah. There was no no's.
Well, that May, we had like a kind of like a Mother's Day get together, and Mandy's husband got us all the mothers a cake and had our names on it. And she wanted a piece of cake, and I was like, and Sam for some reason just didn't want her to have the cake. She's like, she doesn't need the cake. I was like, oh, she's getting cake. You should have seen the big piece of cake I slapped on her plate, and she ate every bite.
Yeah, you can't keep a kid from the cake. That's no good.
No. Mean.
Awesome. I'm so glad we got to do this and that we can get it out in the world, because I don't want there to be any negativity that doesn't need to be there. And I know you guys have been surrounded by it.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't imagine how online comments and things like that have gotten under your skin.
Now, Mandy is more quiet when it comes to stuff like that, but I love to tell people what I think.
That's good.
I cannot help it. Because they don't know. They're not in the situation. They don't know what happened and what was happening. And it just irritated me that everybody just thought they knew the whole entire story, when in reality they really didn't know nothing.
Yeah, if you're not involved, it's easy to armchair quarterback or whatever. But if you're not there, there's no way you can know exactly what it was like or who was involved. So it must have been just kind of like a constant circus.
Oh, it was. Mm-hmm. I hated social media.
Right.
And people are so mean.
Yeah, and for what? I don't understand. I get
exactly
that people want to blame someone, but I mean, blame Jahrid right there. There's your culprit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what irritated me the most about him is the whole time he would talk to papers or he would be on TV or whatever, he would be like, Sam's a drug addict. That's what happened. You'll really find out the story. And then he gets up on the stand and was like, yep, I did it.
Right.
I'm like,
yeah.
the
truth will come out. Well, sure.
Yeah. I'm like, seriously, you're a moron.
Right. Time for one last sponsor break. Did you attend the trials or did you steer clear of it if you could?
We made every single one.
I actually was subpoenaed.
Right. So did you have to stay out of the gallery until you testified?
Yes, that was a long day.
I bet.
Did they let you come in to watch all of the other days?
Yes.
It must have been so hard, though.
It was.
Yeah.
I'm glad Amanda was subpoenaed too, so then I had somebody to hang out with.
Right. Yeah. How do you feel about the how the prosecution did and how the defense did? Do you feel like they both held up their end?
They did.
Okay. I was really shocked to see that Mr. O'Donnell took over as DA. I didn't expect to see that. That was a surprising development there.
Yeah, so she had to get a new lawyer.
Oh, okay. So it was right in the middle.
No, actually, it just happened like 2 months ago. She was supposed to get a new lawyer, and she just got one.
For the appeals and all that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there hasn't been a decision on the latest Supreme Court appeal, right?
No, she hasn't heard anything either.
Do they have any time frame for that, or is it just kind of like when they decide they will?
It has to be within a year that you filed, and it's coming up on a year.
I'm interested to see what happens because there's so much nuance in there, and it's got to be complicated for everybody involved. But what a waiting game for her.
Yeah, to know whether or not she's going to be able to get out before her nieces and nephews turn 18, or if they're going to be grown-ups by the time she gets out.
Yeah. And Christy's going to be, I guess it won't be as long for her, but what was it, 17 months to 17 years or something?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it going to be a lot of good behavior? Is that what her sentence is going to be based on, do you think?
I'm assuming, and when she takes responsibility for the role she played in, because she has not, because that's what the paperwork that I got, that she has not. Yeah, because she was denied parole in September.
I am glad to hear that. Yeah, if she can't accept the fact that she had something to do with it. I mean, no, she wasn't there when it happened, but that was the whole problem. She told all those different stories.
And she knew everything that was happening. She knew about every single time Sam or Arabella was being abused and said nothing to no one. That's why I don't understand why. Why doesn't she get the same charges as what Sam got? That's what I'm not understanding, because she knew everything. She's pretty much as guilty as Sam was.
Well, if she continues on the path she's going of denial, she will get 17 years.
And that might be exactly where she belongs then if she's not going to own up to it.
It's exactly where she belongs.
Yeah. She wasn't a nurse, but she was something in the healthcare field. And
Personal care attendant, the lowest thing possible.
so she should have at least known
Yeah.
when it comes to a seizure, the sooner you call, the better. And yeah, there's a 5 to 15 minute window or something that you're not supposed to call, but an hour is a bit too long.
Even as a decent human being, or a human being in general, you should know that it's not good to have a seizure for that long a period of time. Not, oh, hold on, wait for me to get there.
She didn't care. When she called the ambulance, she said that Arabella was flopping around like a fish.
That must have just broken Sam's heart, no matter how guilty or innocent anyone feels about it. To be a mom who actually does love her child and see that happening. My heart breaks for her and for all of you, really. It's not fair. Not a single thing that happened was fair.
No.
Well, I hope you're all able to find some kind of peace and healing through all this, because I know it's got to be just horrific in every way, but if anything good can come out of it, or anyone learns anything, that's really all you can ask.
I'm setting up a blood drive for her 5-year anniversary in memory of in November.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much. This means so much to me, and I'm glad we got a chance to talk.
It makes me feel good that even after all this time that you haven't forgotten about her.
No, not ever. And if you ever get the stone put up in the park, let me know, and I will. It's a couple hours, but I will make my way out there.
All right.
Thank you so much to Mandy and Sarah for speaking candidly with me about Arabella, Samantha, and their family's tragedy, not to mention for their help in creating this episode. I'm honored to help them tell Arabella's story the way I should have told it from the start, with her family's involvement. I can't stress enough that as ethical true crime content creators, we all need to start checking in with the family and involving them whenever possible before telling a victim's story. Why? Because it's not just a story for us to tell. It's the family's real-life tragedy, and they deserve the respect of having input into how podcasts, YouTubers, and other content creators talk about it. They didn't ask to be thrust into the public eye, and worse yet, that happened to them because of one of the most traumatizing events of their lives. Think of it this way. No matter what the circumstances, would you want your entire life deconstructed by some random content creator you don't even know without even being asked to participate? I know I wouldn't. It's just something to think about. That's it for this episode. Join me next time for another child's story. If you like the show, please follow or subscribe to Suffer the Little Children on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Spreaker, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast listening app. And please leave me a 5-star rating and a positive review on your favorite podcast platform. Visit the website at sufferthelittlechildrenpod.com. You can support the show by visiting patreon.com/stlcpod, where you can become a patron for rewards ranging from a shout-out by name on the show to bonus content and exclusive gifts. You can also support the show at ko-fi.com/stlcpod. Follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at Suffer the Little Children Pod and on TikTok at STLCpod. View photos related to today's episode on Facebook. This podcast is researched, written, hosted, edited, and produced by Lane. Intro theme music is by Dreamnote Music, and all music for the show is licensed from audiojungle.net. For more information about preventing or reporting child abuse, visit childhelp.org or call your area's child abuse hotline. And remember, if you see something, say something.